and was with the surgeon, and he says, two choices. One is retire because there's considerable damage and blah, blah, blah.
What was the actual? Sorry,
it was called
colliding you at your hip.
A torn labrum in the middle of my hip. So your hip's like obviously a ball and socket joint, and the labrum was like cartilage, which prevents bone friction. And the issue, I'm going to give a really basic example of what I remember it being described to me. So it's going to stop the hips bones rubbing off each other. But I had an issue. So every time I had surgery, they had to cut some of the cartilage away, which meant the bones were more open to rubbing off each other. So every time I rotated my hip in any way, just be bones crunching off each other. So I'd have shooting pains in all directions.
Because you see people obviously like come back from cruciate knee ligament injuries. You see people come back from broken legs. That's not really a well.
No, and there was a few. I think Freddie Lumberg, Robbie Fowler, and Roy Keane at the time in those few years, they all had hip injuries, and I think we all went to the same surgeon. So people recover from this injury. I think all of those players have since said that they weren't the same player having had that injury, but they all got back. And then I'll jump ahead here. So I had 2 years of fucking shite. And then I used to speak to Kevin Kiles. Remember the Scottish striker from Sunderland?
Yeah.
He rang me a couple of times because he had a similar symptoms in his hip, and he had the same operation as I had in my hip, and he was struggling. So he started to ring me looking for a bit of guidance. And it got so bad that he was ringing me looking for guidance on how do you retire. But then he rang me one day saying, and Sunderland sent him all over, sent him to the geezer Bayern Munich, Muller, Wolfhart, and they sent him to America. And apparently some Canadian surgeon in one of the top places in Colorado in America had developed this new procedure that fixes exactly what was wrong with my hip. Kyle had gone over and he was feeling like $1 million. So he said, listen, it might be worth you. Even before he said it, I was ahead of him. So fuck, I'm sending all my details to them. So that's what I did. I contacted the surgery, sent them all my medical records, all the scans, everything I thought that they would need. And they sent back, said, yeah, this is fine. Yeah, you're a candidate. Come over. And I was like, honestly, it was like being told you're coming back from the dead. It's like,
how old was you at this point? So what, 26?
2 years older, so I was only 26.
Yeah.
And so this is amazing. And so I rang Ken Brown, I think he was the CEO of Millwall at the time. Millwall had received an insurance payout, I think of £1 million. Wow. When I retired. They didn't give me a penny of that. But it meant for me to play for Millwall again, Millwall would have to repay the insurance.
I remember my dad. I was sort of a teenager. I was a roofer, and he said to me one day. He used to buy the South London Press every day. You seen that Richard Sadlier? He retired from us. Now there's a new thing in America, and he might make a comeback and join Sunderland. But we'll withhold his thing because
So basically, what happened was I had the surgery, and then the club Jerry was still a physio, so he let me do my rehab in the physio room and in the gym down at Millwall. So I got to, surgery was about August or September. I flew back in December to America for the 3-month checkup. They said, you're flying, just keep going. And so word started to spread at this point to other clubs that I was back on the mend and available, and I could play for anyone except Millwall. That was the only thing I knew. I'm going to be a footballer, but just not a Millwall footballer. Okay. And then a few clubs asked me to come and train with them, but Mick McCarthy rang from Sunderland. And why I went to Sunderland was because the physios there were rehabbing Kevin Kyle. It's specific, so that they're the only set of physios in the country that have experience of rehabbing the surgery I've just had. Plus Mick McCarthy is there, who I've played with before. Plus it's Sunderland. So it was this feeling of, right, fucking maybe this is all working out the way it could have gone years ago. Anyway, so I went up there. Within 6 weeks, Mick got sacked. Then Kevin Ball took over as manager, and I started to train. And then Kevin Ball topped me in training one day, and the ankle that I'd done against Cambridge years earlier was never properly recovered. So I now needed ankle surgery. My hip was fine, but
so
now
the new manager topped you in training.
Yeah, so I needed ankle surgery. I thought this has really set me back, but it's only a minor thing. Big picture is great. My hip is fine. So I had the ankle surgery, and And then Noel Quinn came in as manager. The club changed ownership. I started training again. And then Quinn said, give me your agent's number because we've got a contract offer. It was like,
by the time you got back into it, was you as sharp as you used to be?
I was like,
2 years without kicking a ball is a big thing.
Yeah, it's a long time, and I wasn't living my life for 2 years the way a footballer should live their life. So it took me a while. I was getting all these little niggly muscle injuries at the start, which they told me to expect. So then now the ankle surgery, which was a delay, but they told me to expect that. And then I couldn't get back. I got back training a couple of days, and Quinn said 3-year deal. It was like more than double Millwall had ever paid me. Load of big bonuses. They were going to pay back any insurance stuff that there was an issue. So this is amazing. I'm back from the dead here. But I went over my ankle again. And Quinn said, the contract is there for you to sign. You just have to prove your full fitness. And you do that by having the ankle injury, play 1 or 2 games. As long as the hip's okay, we're away. So I had the ankle injury again. And by the time I got back fit from that, Quinn was no longer manager. Roy Keane was now manager. So I thought, right, this is my 4th manager in my 10-month stint at Sunderland. So I just had to focus.
You wasn't getting paid at this point, but
not getting paid at all. And just, so I thought, I better start training. So when Keane was there, I trained one day. I felt fucking great. Day 2, went out train, and then my hip went again.
Oh.
And it had been niggling me for a little while, but I didn't really pay too much attention to it because I thought that's just a little niggle. My big injury is my ankle, and that's going to go away anyway, so I shouldn't really be bothered about anything. But my hip went. So then by November 2005, 2006, I kind of had to retire for a second time, having convinced myself for the previous 16 months that the road, like I was on my way back and I was guaranteed to play again. But this time it was really different. There was no public statement. There was no press release from any club. I hadn't done any interviews with anyone in any detail about the comeback or anything. So I just quietly left Sunderland.
So distance yourself away from
Sold the house in London. I had 2 dogs, put them on the boat, drove back to Dublin with all the furniture I had. Just to start doing God knows what. I just thought the football stuff is definitely behind me now.